Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. I'm here with co-host Steve Anderson, and the Black Knight Nation podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company owned by Joe Ross, former Army fullback, former Army fullbacks coach, and former Army officer. Thank you, Joe Ross and Higher Echelon, for sponsoring this podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Black Knight Nation, Twitter, Black Knight Nation, and man, we had a lot of photos, and we had getting out the coverage. I'm pumping out the coverage little by little here, holiday weekend. But we're going to bring in another return guest here, Ben Kotwica, Director of Player Development for Army Football Team and former Army football captain. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Sal, Merry Christmas, and thanks for having me.
No problem. Man, that must have been pretty fun to watch from your view for the bowl game finish, right? I mean, a walk-off field goal, not something that happens a lot in college football, not something that happens a lot with the Army football program. And maybe you can give us a little perspective on what that was like and what that finish was like from your view on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think, Sal, there's a handful of things to unpack on that football game. First off, couldn't be happier for those players, the program, to get an SEC win like that is it just speaks volumes about the commitment that not only the program has had, but the institution has in regard to Army football, number one. Number two is a very good football game. I think that we were able, on the defensive side, those that watched it, we were able to hold them to some field goals early in the game instead of giving up touchdowns, which obviously paid off dividends. And then obviously Cottwick, he misses early on that field goal from just over 30 early on, and for him to come back and knock off the game winner, the walk-off, is really a testament to his mental fortitude and the ability to overcome adversity. So just a tremendous win for the program, the institution, and all Army fans.
Yeah, if I may, Sal, I mean, Coach, we talk about it, and we always want to see it, but Army football, Army resiliency, right? Dedication, commitment, that last drive, right? Third string quarterback, kicker had some issues, but just everything about that last drive is what we want out of Army officers. It's what out of future Army officers. It's what you want out of football players. And the belief in the determination, the commitment, everything about that last drive. I couldn't have been prouder as an Army football player. I couldn't have been prouder as an Army fan. And just watching those young men just finish the 60 minutes was just, I mean, it was everything I could imagine to finish an Army football season like.
Yeah, so Steve, first off, happy holidays. Great to see you as well. I think you hit it on the head there. There's a lot of characteristics that you just hit on, but very, very proud of that group, and was really happy to be associated. And during my time, just being able to add some value there, I'm hopeful that I was able to give them half the value that they gave to me, because I learned more from that experience than I ever imagined. And that drive at the end there, you mentioned, a quarterback coming in, obviously Anderson gets hurt, Tyler comes in the game, and then you're at your third string quarterback who's overcome a ton of adversity. I mean, you could unpack that player's experience during the time there, but really epitomizes what it is to be an Army football player and a future leader, of the men and women in the uniform.
I can't imagine what that locker room was like after the game, Ben, because like you said, there's just you have the cold tally kick, you have the Jabari Laws story. I mean, you have the way the defense. I mean, it was just a complete effort by the team. And you watch a guy like Jacoby Buchanan, everything he gave to Army in that game. I mean, that run, that 10-yard run for a touchdown is how do I describe it? Almost like option football bliss right there, where he was able to run over a tackler and get into the end zone. That'd be amazing just to also experience the locker room after the game, I imagine.
Yeah, well, a couple things there. You hit on Jacoby, which is really a strength of that offense. When you look at him and Adkins and even Riley, who was dinged up a little bit this year, when you're able to feed 750 pounds of fullback, you're going to have some success there, which we've ended up doing. But, to be in the locker room after the game, not only to get that win in a bowl game, but especially for those seniors, coming off the Navy game where, we didn't play our best. I think to a man, we would end up admitting that and not getting that victory. For those guys to respond, and we've talked about overcoming adversity, Steve, you just alluded to it. You couldn't be happier for those guys. And I think those emotions came to a head when we were in the locker room after the game. Coach Monken has done such a tremendous job with that program. And again, the support of General Williams, the superintendent, it was really, really a team effort. And it's great to see, again, those seniors walk off in their final football game with a victory. And, what was it? 9-4 was the season. I mean, that's just a tremendous, tremendous year for the program.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, but, the season and careers those seniors have had and the impact that they have on the program and the mentorship is so big because, and I know you know him, but Colonel Gene Polka, another huge mentor of mine, always talking about the complexity of being a leader amongst leaders, right? Where the seniors are leading, but everybody's a leader at West Point, especially, you have underclassmen that are players. So to see that senior class, clear, right? Forget about the Navy game, focus on Mizzou and come away with that victory in I felt like that game and, whatever cliche you want to call it, but the ups and downs of that game, right? We're losing, we're winning, we're losing. We come out of halftime and seize it, right? It just felt like kind of like a summarization of the season those seniors kind of led, where started hot, had a sore stretch, and then came back. It just so happy for those guys to leave that field as seniors, as winners, as they should.
Ben, you talked about
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ben.
Nope, absolutely. I just agree with you, Steve.
You talked about what you learned this year from the players, and what's the season been like for you back at West Point and being around the team?
Yeah, that experience was tremendous. First off, I would thank Coach Monken for allowing me the opportunity to embed with them during that period of time. There's multiple levels there, Sal, that you can unpack. I think that from my standpoint, being able to sit in, and the role was multifaceted. It was all the way from helping the freshman, the plebe or the yuck make it to the next day, and then the cow and the firstie kind of articulate and see what it looks like post-graduation. Coach was awesome in regard to allowing me the opportunity to get involved in game management, situational football. I was able to sit in the defensive room with Coach Woody, who's done a tremendous job there, and then also on the special team side. But then also seeing how the culture has changed. Oftentimes, Sal, we talk about, yep, that's how the culture changed. But, to be embedded and to walk the ground and live it and see what it looked like gave me a tremendous appreciation for what it looks like. So it was really cool to be there and to provide some value during this season.
Coach, one thing that I always try to ask guys that have been around the program, and you've been around the program, even though you weren't in the program like you are now, you went to West Point, you follow the program, you've seen a lot of teams, you've seen a lot of cultures. Something that, we always kind of try to facilitate first, right, is a successful culture. How unique or how comparative is the culture from, what you saw when you played to now, under Coach Sutton and now under Coach Monken, and just how do you feel the similarities and differences are for now versus then?
Well, I think a handful of things. I think first off, being successful at that level or at any level is a talent acquisition business, and they've got some talented football players there, who are able to contribute and produce. So, they've got some good players. When you talk about, the intertwines of what are the intangible kind of things that make it work, there's a leadership by example phase there, and I think that when you talk about like what the standard is, I think Coach Monken epitomizes that just in his actions and the way that he commands the formation. I think that is permeated throughout the players. It is really a standard based organization, and there's no detail that's too small there. So I think that combined with the energy and the juice, it's a really interesting mix. And so I think that those are some of the things that come to mind when I think about like what that culture ends up looking like. And so and then from the X's and O's standpoint, you got to remember, when you talk about like where I was when we played back in, what is that, 95, 96, Army football got away from itself for a long period of time. Let's not make any mistakes here, right? So we got away from what Army football should have been, whether it was in the late 90s and early 2000s with the scheme and the way we were trying to do it. And now it has morphed back into what it should look like. They run the football. They understand that at Army, you need to own the ground, which they continue to do. They're able to stop the run on defense, and they're playing pretty good red zone defense, which they were able to do against Missouri that helped them lead the way. So, that's kind of where it's still come, I think, full circle when you talked about like, hey, what did you see when I played, versus what they're doing now, at the ground level of making things run. I think those are a couple of the really the foundation pillars that are making the thing go.
Ben, if we can go back to Cole Talley's kick, I was doing some research today and I found out that was the first walk-off regulation field goal winning boot since 1994, Kurt Heiss. And it was a 24-yard kick against the Citadel. So that's like, if I do my math, 27 years, I guess that is. And I'm guessing that you were with the program.
I think I vaguely remember that. I think that was my sophomore year, and you said the Citadel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we played them at home, and they had a fullback named Travis Jervey that ended up playing for the Green Bay Packers for a handful of years, who was a really good football player. But I do remember Kurt hitting that field goal. He hit another big one, if I remember correctly, if that year as well.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I was trying to look back, and people are saying, well, in overtime, the field goal kicker won it for. No, this is a regulation kick where, it ends the game and you walk off. And that is something, like we said, just doesn't happen often in college football games. And like we said, for Cole Talley, he was talking about his freshman year when he had that kick against Michigan and how, that was his first kick, I believe, of his college career, a 50-yarder to win against Michigan. And he said that weighed on his mind for a long period of time, and then he got his mental game in check, and it showed in the Armed Forces Bowl this year, no doubt. So,
Sal, kickers are like lawyers. You really can't appreciate a great one and a good one until you have it and you need it. And I think that, as I alluded to, the really cool thing about Cole Talley is his ability to respond. He misses one early in the game, and if you don't have that mental game in the right frame, and you're not seasoned, and you're not sharpening iron in that phase, you can easily let that set creep in later in the game. But he didn't do that, and he did a great job of knocking it through and getting the win.
Yeah, he talked about how Coach Saturnio prepares these guys mentally and goes through some maybe stuff that you might have seen Bruce Lee do. Coach, have you been involved in any of that stuff with the mental preparation, the Bruce Lee preparation? Or
no, I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is what an incredible coach Sean is. Really brings a great vibe. He's got great juice. I think he does a tremendous job of connecting to the players and bringing them the energy, especially in the special teams phase. He calls them the sauce team, which the guys really get a kick out of. And I think that he's able to touch that whole spectrum, and he does a tremendous job. But in regard to the Bruce Lee, mental game of, bending silver and titanium spoons, I can't speak to that.
What do you think about Zack Harding? You've coached in the NFL on special teams. What do you think Zack Harding's future might be punting at the next level?
Yeah, well, the cool thing on Zack is he'll have another opportunity. He's going to go play in the NFLPA game here in January, so that'll give him an opportunity to rub elbows with the scouts and other high level, high level players. I think that he's got tremendous talent, tremendous upside. He's long levered. He's got as much leg talent as anybody that I saw on the college level. His ball striking consistency is an area that I think he admittedly will need to improve on. He's done a very nice job of working on his pooch punts, of getting the ball down inside. I think we had one there against Missouri. I think we had one in another game. I can't remember it, but he's done a good job of that. He's just got to continue to refine his skills, and his arrow's pointing up. He's just got to be able to continue to strike the ball more consistently. And if he's able to do that, he's going to catch scouts' eyes out at the NFLPA game, and then you don't know where it's going to go from there. He could easily be in, and I think Cockrell's going to end up going to the East-West game. I mean, if I'm tracking it right now, Sal, we've got 5 that are in the league. I mean, isn't Christensen out there? I mean, Elijah obviously got hurt with the Jets. You still got Ollie that's with Baltimore. Radigan was with Seattle. I think he got hurt. I mean, that just kind of shows you the infusion of talent that's coming in there.
No doubt. Steve, you told us a story about you and Ali going to that tryout camp, right, or the regional camp, and that's how Ali made it. It's been, I think there's, like you said, there's a lot of talent on this team, and there's some guys that are going to get a shot, whether it be a rookie camp or maybe Cockrell can get drafted. Who knows?
Right. Coach mentioned it. Right. The success of any team is you got to have players, right? Players that can make plays in big time games, and then you have the culture and staff that facilitates their success. But very proud of our guys that are in the league now. The one thing I would like to try to understand, Coach, is so the biggest thing, right, is learning from the previous years and the seniors passing that torch, right? We got to have this class make sure the juniors understand the accountability, the discipline, who's going to lead this team, who's going to be the seniors that now take over, who are the guys that are in charge, which is always something that happens, usually, maybe soon, but, springtime kind of who establishes themselves in the spring. But who are you looking at now that, the season's over, you've got to enjoy it? I'm sure you've already been on the road, or you've already made calls, right? The process doesn't stop, right? You try to win, right away after the game. You get the 24-hour rule. But who do you see next year as the upcoming seniors to kind of take that torch and propel this team to another 10-win season?
Yeah, I think it starts and stops with Marquell Broughton. When you just talk about leaders, that team did have a junior that was one of the captains on the team. He is an exceptional leader. He's a really, really good football player, but he is a high energy, positive leader that guys will definitely gravitate to. I think in the production side, when you talk about like guys coming back, the Carter kid that's playing the outside linebacker position at 6'6.5", over 14.5 sacks is going to be another disruptive force who will continue to evolve in the leadership position. The offensive line will have a couple guys. There's a couple of the B-backs that are, obviously the B-backs or the fullbacks that we talked about. Atkins and Buchanan will end up being back there on the offensive side. It'll be interesting to watch the maturation of Isaiah Alston at the X position or the wide receiver position. Made some huge catches, not only in the Missouri game, but throughout the course of the year. And then if you go back to the defensive side, there's a handful of other players there that'll end up stepping up. There's this Leo Lowens kid that's a sophomore that'll be a rising junior. So that's one of the things. As again, you're right. You're always thinking ahead, but those are just a couple of the names of those listening out there that you're going to hear over the next year or so. And you're right. It's good to enjoy the victory, but it never stops. And I think that'll be the other unique thing, Steve, is how each team is unto its own. Each journey is on its own. You don't bring any of the wins from last year over to the next year. So they will formulate their own, culture and identity and such. And it'll be interesting to see how it materializes in the following season.
Yeah, one of my, not necessarily failures or regrets, but one thing I hated to see was, my senior class 7-6 bowl game win, and then the next year we went like 2-9 or 2-10 or 3-9, and I always wondered like what didn't I give that junior class, or what did our seniors not, because it's all transitional, right, Coach? Like, obviously, again, we go back to talent, right? But it's all transitional in the aspect that you can continue to build if the right people listen to the right leaders, and you go from there. And you'll always have emerging, right? There's going to be some senior that steps up that maybe hasn't seen a lot of time, that now is a player that you didn't expect, which is always good to see. I just,
it's kind of like a battalion commander who identifies a couple key company commanders that he wants to groom, or a company commander that's, trying to groom a young lieutenant and such. And so, that natural maturation or growth, happens. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens in 2020. But hey guys, listen, I hate to cut you short, but I'm going to have to break contact here. And I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you hopping back on and giving us the great insight that he did on the bowl game and inside the team. Thanks so much. We'll get you back on.
Yeah, would absolutely love to do it again. And Steve, didn't you just have another one born? Didn't you have another? Didn't you drop another seed here?
I had my third boy on December 3rd. So we got Ace, Asher, and Arden, Coach. Probably looking at 2033, 2034, and 2039. West Point linebackers is what we're going to go ahead and pencil them in at. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. It's really great to see you. Make sure you stay connected. And Sal, let's keep in touch. And anytime you want to talk ball, make sure you hit me up again. Okay.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, Coach.
All right, fellas.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good, fellas. Thanks.
Gonna stay on here real quick for a couple more minutes. Just have some comments that we want to get on. Sorry we couldn't get them on with Coach Kotwica, but want to read them. Here we have Chuck Phillips. Coach K, thanks for the 1995-96 wins against Navy, most especially the Air Force win in 96. You were all men on a mission that game. We have Bay Knight 20. Why is Army so good at blocking punts? Man, I wish we could have had Coach Kotwica speak on that. I mean, I think it's just really good coaching by Coach Saturnio, to be honest with you. And there's some good athletes out there, guys that get after it. And the schemes are really strong for Army. And we have amazing air show videos with a comment. We'll get that on in a second. Never forget the 96 Army Air Force game. We're going to get Coach Kotwica on again in the future. So if you guys, we'll let you guys know when. And we have a bunch more to talk about what he's doing with special teams. Really appreciate you guys hopping on for a short period of time tonight. Hey, if you guys are around Wednesday night, 7:00, we're kind of going to do a roundtable review of the 2021 season. We're hoping to have Dan and Rob of Ask for Football on, Steve Cripey of Crawdads Countdown to Kickoff, and also Steve Anderson's going to join us also, and we're going to go over our top 10 Army players of the 2021 season, our MVP of the team, play of the year, game of the year. So we're going to do kind of our year-end kind of wrap-up show on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys can be on and for that one too. Real quick, we'll do our best to try to get Bob Sutton on. That's a good one that we haven't had on yet. Maybe we can connect with him soon. Get Coach Sutton on. Guys, thanks a lot. You can always find us on blackknightnation.com, our website. I just put out some quick thoughts on the Armed Forces Bowl. Apologize if it was a little late. Crazy stat with that walk-off kick being Army's first since 1994. Kurt Heiss, Jacoby Buchanan another crazy stat, had 17 fourth down conversions this season, which is just unreal. Probably more than half of the teams in college football. And check out our Instagram page, black_night_nation. We're posting photos. Lynn Fern was at the game for us, the Armed Forces Bowl. She sent me like over 300 photos that I was still kind of going through and putting up on social media. And it's good to see Army football players actually posting some of the photos on their feeds too. We appreciate that. And our YouTube channel, please subscribe and rate, review, throw us comments on there. We're loving it. We are up to 340 something subscribers, hoping to get that up too. So thanks a lot for joining us for this interview with Ben Kotwica. And we'll be back on Wednesday night for the roundtable recap. Have a good night, guys.